all day, every day, you have choices about the things you think about. So he said to Esther the other day, it's a new process that we are in the process of putting into form that you can read it and see it online and come to know it. So if you've been hearing us talking about the emotional scale, the emotional scale, one end of it feels like fear and disempowerment. The other end of it feels like joy and complete empowerment. That's the range of emotions that you feel. Up here in the joy and appreciation and love end, where complete empowerment is, you are in complete tuning, alignment, allowing with that broader part of you. In other words, there's no resistance in your vibration. So you're allowing all that you are for the moments of that elation or that love. You are in sync with who you are. You're in the vortex, which means if you can maintain that, if you can milk whatever thought it is that's got you feeling high like that, if you can maintain that and establish a pattern of thought of being in the vortex, then rendezvous, circumstance, and events, all things you've been asking for will be revealed to you, or better said, you'll be in a place where you will be able to see them because you're vibrationally not blind to them, because you're in there where they are. Such a good thing to be in the vortex. On the other hand, if you're over here in fear or anger, you're so far from the vortex that you're still banging around in the absence of what you want. And we don't have to tell you that. You can tell that by the way you feel. And you've done enough association with the way you feel and what's going on in your life that makes perfect sense to you. So this emotional scale, we'd like to put a small version of one out here in the air for you to see. So here is fear and disempowerment, and a little area there, we're going to call that. And next to it is anger, varying degrees of anger, really angry, a little less angry. Next to that is overwhelmment. Next to that is frustration. Next to that is a little bit of optimism, but next to that is hope. And next to hope is belief. And next to that is joy, love, appreciation, knowing. Now this vortex that we're talking to you about, this vortex that we want you to get in. Sure, it'll spit you out, but get right in. Get in. It'll spit you out, but get right in. Get in. This vortex, the edge of it, the vibrational edge of it, is somewhere on this emotional scale between hope and belief. So if you get up there in the hopeful range, the vortex will suck you in every now and again and show you something to make you believe. And before you know it, your hope will have moved from hope to belief. And once you're hanging around in belief about anything, I believe I can lose weight, I believe I can be well, I believe I can be abundant, I believe I can be loved, I believe life is good. Once you get into that belief area, now the vortex just reveals, and people who watch you are just, especially those over here on the emotional scale, are really irritated about how all things that you want are happening to you. And it's really hard to explain to them that you just got yourself into the vortex. They don't understand vibration often. They just think you should give them some of your stuff. Get in there and create it, and then give it to me. They don't hang on to it very long, and they need more and more, but don't fret over that. You can make enough for all of them. So, but it won't make them happy, because they got to be in the vortex in order to feel good. So here's this emotional scale, and you get the sense of where the little categories are. So let's say you wake up, and you wake up in the same vibrational place you went to sleep in. In other words, if you go to sleep in the vortex, you're going to wake up in the vortex. If you go to sleep out of the vortex, you're going to wake up out of the vortex. So let's say you wake up and you think about all the things that you have to do today. And even before you get out of bed, you feel overwhelmed. So overwhelmed was about right here. So we're going to put that thought in this column of overwhelm. So now you've thought this thought of overwhelm. Now, law of attraction says that which is likened to itself is drawn. And so it's likely that the next thoughts you think are going to sort of cluster around that. You're going to think about what a hard day you had yesterday, and you're going to think about how uncooperative the people at work are, and you might think about your children who don't seem to do what you want them to do, and you might think about how unfair it is that you have more to do than you have time to do, while your mate lives a different life. And now, while you've been clustering around this category that we're calling overwhelmment, you move right over to anger. Now you're going to find out in the next few thoughts where you usually hang around. Do you usually hang around in overwhelmment, or do you usually hang around in anger? So now you've thought this angry thought, and if you stayed there even for 17 seconds, now another angry thought's going to come to you. The paper boy threw the paper in the bushes again. And that boy never learns. And where's his mother anyway? Oh, wait, it was his mother who threw the paper in the bushes. And then you think about how you need to go to work, and you move back to overwhelmment, and then you think, but you're still hanging around overwhelmment and anger. Then you think about something that happened at work yesterday, and so there you go back to anger. And so here's all these thoughts, overwhelmment and anger. That's sort of what your range is, overwhelmment and anger and overwhelmment and anger. And then you think, oh, wait a minute. I went to that Abraham seminar, and Abraham encouraged me to meditate. That's just stupid. That's just stupid. I don't have time to meditate. I'm already overwhelmed. I don't have enough time to meditate. If I had time to meditate, I wouldn't be overwhelmed and I wouldn't need to meditate. And then you think, all right, I'm gonna try and meditate. So you move briefly over to hope. Nope, didn't hold. Because this is where your vibration is. So then off to work you go. Now, you've got a sort of head of steam going. Overwhelmment, anger, overwhelmment, anger, overwhelmment, anger, overwhelmment, anger. Guess who the first person you meet is? Person who makes you the maddest. And guess what? They do it again. And then you turn around and you notice that your employer has just witnessed your altercation. Fear. In other words, you're hanging around and your thought, it feels like your thoughts are thinking you. Is any of this sounding a little familiar? So now you go to bed that night. And as you go to bed that night, you think about the day you've had. And you wish for a better feeling day. And as you go to sleep, you're still in the overwhelmed place. And when you wake up, you're still in the overwhelmed place. And the next morning, you wake up and your thoughts go right to thoughts of overwhelmment. But then, before you get out of bed this day, maybe you think, maybe I should try that meditation stuff. So you brush your teeth, you don't wake anybody else up, you get a little bit to eat, and you go to a quiet place where you attempt to quiet your mind. And you manage, even though you sat there for 15 or 20 minutes, you manage for about a minute and a half to find a sort of place of calm that you don't usually find. You were listening to the fan in the air conditioner, or you were listening to a dripping faucet, or you were counting your own breaths, whatever. You quieted your mind enough that you deactivated the vibration that was hovering around overwhelmment, and you went right into hope. In fact, you went right into belief just for a moment. You went right into belief just for a moment. Now, you don't really know it yet because you weren't there long enough to really feel the effect of it, but vibrationally speaking, you moved on this emotional scale. And now, law of attraction, for a minute, for a little while, is going to feed you thoughts. You're going to have access to thoughts that hover around that more hopeful, believing place. You following? And so you come out of meditation and you feel a little better for a minute, and then you think, oh man, I'm late, I've got so much to do. And you move back to overwhelmment. Now as you move through your day, you've moved your range from belief or hope to overwhelmment. And this day, just because of that one meditation, you are less likely to move into anger than you were the day before. In other words, now you've established a high point on your vibrational scale. The low point is still where it was, but you may hover around here a little more in a little more hope. And that person who makes you mad is zigging while you're zagging more. In other words, you don't have vibrational access to them just from, we're not kidding you, one segment of meditation. Now, your day goes on, and the first part of the day is going to be better than the second part of the day, because as the day goes on, you may return to some of those habits of thoughts that are knee-jerk reactions that you have about what's going on in your day. So your vibrational patterns may shift a little bit, and you may find yourself at the end of the day not feeling that much better than you felt at the end of the day before. But now you've got another piece of information in your arsenal of personal creation. You remember you had a slightly better feeling morning, and so you close your eyes that night and you feel hopeful about turning the tides of your experience. You lie there in the bed, and from your own personal experience that you showed yourself, this day was slightly better than the day before it, and I believe it had something to do with what I did. Maybe, just maybe, I have some control of my own experience. I certainly hope that I do. And you go to sleep hopeful. Now, you went to sleep hopeful. Where are you going to wake up? Hopeful. So you wake up. Now, whether you're following this emotional trail that we are giving to you or not, there is a vibrational root to it that is absolutely accurate. You may not be in a place where you can discern the difference in your vibrations as succinctly as we are speaking them here, but it is our promise to you, we can discern the vibrational frequency of your being as succinctly as we're speaking it here. So you wake up the next morning and you're feeling more hopeful. And as you lie there feeling hopeful, you don't go to your first usual morning thought of overwhelmment. You lie there feeling a little more hopeful, maybe anticipating a little better feeling day. Now you go off to work and you're feeling more hopeful. Now, those things that you had access to before, those comments that you overheard, in other words, reality is not going to change that much. What goes on at work is going to be pretty much like what always goes on at work, because the dynamics of work are about more than just you. But your vibrational and therefore personal involvement with all of those things is different now. It's different on the day that you woke up hopeful than it was on the day you woke up overwhelmed. Now you're hopeful, and now you go to meditation because you're feeling good. So you go and you sit to meditate for a little bit. And this time you release, you have far less resistance to release because you haven't conjured any in your being to begin with. And so now you go right into a feeling of good, feeling swooning. You're in that place of vibrational alignment. In fact, you might not know it because you haven't become accustomed to the vernacular that we're offering here, but you're in the vortex. You meditated yourself. You woke up on the brink of the vortex and you meditated yourself right there, and you managed to maintain a vibration of non-resistance for a little bit of time. Now, at this point of your understanding, if you are really wise and you understand the power of this vortex, you might say to yourself, Esther says it every time she's consciously aware that she's in the vortex, what can I do to milk this? What thoughts could I think that would get me to stay here longer? What thoughts could I think? Her favorite thing, she looks through a deck of the cards, the new artist that has done the money and the law of attraction cards. The combination of those words and those pictures holds Esther longer in the vortex. It's just sublime to just look at the pictures and let the words resonate through her. Anything that is pleasing to you. Picture albums of your babies, whatever it is. Pictures of your dogs, whatever it is. Magazines that please you, whatever it is. Memories, read an old love letter unless the person ran off and left you. Do whatever it does, but milk being in the vortex. Milk it, because what you're doing, you're establishing your vibrational pattern. You're establishing your frequency. And once you do that, what happens is you don't have access to all of those things that are up and down the scale. Now, let's say that you managed to do that for about 30 days. You're feeling so good. You've tuned yourself in. Well, you're going to go to work, and sure, things are going to happen. And it may very well be you'll see something on the news that takes you over to fear. But if you've established this vibrational pattern, you won't stay there long. Right back you'll go. In other words, if you've established the frequency of expecting good things to come to you, that's what expectation is. Do you understand? Expectation is pattern of vibration that law of attraction has helped you to establish. But you have to direct your thought.